What is going on, y'all? Welcome to the Half Price Concessions podcast, episode 2. This week, we're talking gospel music and we're talking dirt track racing, two of the best things that by God there is. And the man we're talking about it with is someone very near and dear to my heart, Mr. Randy Payne Sr. He has been singing bass in gospel quartets for almost pretty much as long as I've known him, and probably long before that. He is a former educator. He is a big fan of dirt track racing, and especially that old school dirt late model racing. He's got me beat on the age, so he could tell stories that I just can't. But one of the best people I know, and probably one of the most interesting people I know. And a little fun fact, he is the reason that this podcast is called the Half Price Concessions Podcast. He is the inspiration for that. We'll get into all that and more coming up on today's episode. Randy Payne Sr., an interview with him coming up in just a few moments. Stay tuned. So let's talk about, well, probably most people, I know you for about 10 million different things, but most people that probably see you standing over, I think you're usually off on the right side. You're not in the middle, but you're over on the side, and you're the one hitting the daggum low note that makes people's skin crawl in the front row when the speaker's plugged up right. So first and foremost, where did you even get the desire to sing this stuff? Because not everybody is made to get up there and stand in front of a bunch of people who don't know who they are and sing. I guess what back then was a modern song. Back nowadays we'd look at it and be like an old timey song.
At People's Memorial Church, and Daddy died when I was 10. The guy that was in charge of the music was George Neely, and he took me under his wing when my daddy died, because him and my daddy were great friends. And he started working with me and grabbed me one Sunday and said, "I want you in the choir." And he taught me the bass stuff, because bass usually is a straight line. You drop here, you don't have all this up and downs. It's the easiest part, and I had the voice for it.
How old were you?
Well, when I was 13, one Sunday he went to Mama and said the church group was going to a homecoming at a church. Can't remember the preacher's name. It was out Highway 49. He said, "We're going to sing at a homecoming. Will you let him go sing bass with us?" I was 13. Wow. And it was Carl Lee and that man's daughter, Dolores Qualls, and his wife played the piano and him singing, and a lady was Peggy Oliver. And I started going out from church singing with them when I was 13. And then he kept working with me, and the first thing, he had me in the groups at church when the group went up to sing, and me singing bass.
And you were just that naturally low with your tone.
And I just had a low tone voice. Yeah, at 13.
Now you dropped quick.
Well,
yeah, now it's usually about middle school when it drops. Sound like you dropped earlier than most.
But if I make it next year, still singing, it'll be 60 years I've been singing.
What's the high point of it? Like, what was there ever one where you went in and where you were singing just kind of like caught you, and you were just like, you had to kind of gather yourself because you was in awe? Was there ever a specific place or anything?
There were many, but the one that caught me in awe more than anything and still stands out is with the Young Deacons. When the Young Deacons Quartet started, the youngest one was 15, and I was 18, and the other two were 19. And we started in January of 66, and we sang, and through the years we got a Nashville agent, and we sang at the Grand Ole Opry Ryman Auditorium with George Jones and Tammy Wynette.
Did you actually get to meet them, or were they kind of like
backstage with them?
Oh man!
I hugged Tammy Wynette. She kissed me on the jaw.
What was George Jones like?
He stayed on the bus drinking.
I was about to say he had to have some kind of buzz.
Didn't speak nothing. Yeah. She come in loving on us, and I was backstage with her, and another one, Young Deacons again, we were at a youth rally down east Clinton or somewhere.
Yeah.
And guess who we got to do that program with?
Who's that?
Dale Evans.
Oh, wow.
As in Roy Rogers and Dale Evans that I grew up watching on the Cowboy Show on TV. And when we were back in the room and everybody involved had prayer together, I held her hand and she prayed. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And then we went back to the Grand Ole Opry, and the chaplain of Bourbon Street, Bob Harrington.
Yeah.
He was speaking that night, and we sang at the Ryman Auditorium, Grand Ole Opry.
Now, did y'all get
that was in the 70s, in the early 70s.
Did y'all get there early enough where you got to like see all the plaques and all the things?
Lord, yeah. Okay. Yeah, we were up overnight. Yeah. Wow. Walked all over the town, all the famous buildings and stuff. I've been watching the country music thing on public TV this week and saw where we were back in the day.
Yeah.
They've been running a special on country music, and it went way, way back to Jimmy Rogers and the last one it got up into Chris Christopherson and Johnny Cash and then what's that?
Red Akins. Oh wait, no. If we're talking Johnny Cash, it's got
the modern ones. The modern ones.
Oh,
Waylon and Willie and all them, but Garth Brooks, all that's been on there.
Wow.
It has been an awesome, awesome show to watch. Yeah.
That just baffles me. You got to sing at the Ryman.
But we did that, and then we had that agent. We were going full time singing, and all of a sudden everybody said can't do it, and they quit.
Just all of a sudden.
Didn't even call me and tell me I'm quitting my job, and was working on the bus for us to go full time. And a guy came down there messing around the bus, and I said, "Can I help you?" He said, "Yeah." Richard called and said your bus is for sale.
There you go.
And I went, "Oh, we forgot to call you."
There you go. How much money were you making? Were you getting by barely, or like how much?
No,
were you
I was
making?
still working full time and singing.
Oh, okay, so you were like having two jobs basically.
And I was working at Alamance Motors on Church Street, and on Friday afternoon I'd have to ask the boss. I'd go in earlier or skip lunch. I'd get off at 5 instead of 6.
Yeah.
They would pick me up on the bus. We'd go to Pennsylvania, Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi, Ohio. All up northeast, sung all over the place.
Wow.
Yep. And then drive from Pennsylvania all night long, Sunday night coming home, and pull up in front of the dealership and put the parking brake on, turn the flashers on, and holler back there for somebody to get up and take the bus. I had to go to work, walk back in the door, work 9.5 hours, and when I got home, I fell face down in the bed.
What kind of bus was this? Was this like Cousin Eddie's RV, or was it like a nice bus?
It was an old Trailways bus. Yep. It was a 1957 4104 bus, and we had it painted up. We'd fixed and customized the inside. Had 8 bunks in it. Had a bathroom. Had refrigerator stuff.
Yeah.
TV. Just like the other senior groups of that time.
That's a really close space for grown men to be living. I bet y'all had to learn how to cohab real quick.
Double bunks. Double bunks. Yeah, it was some interesting times.
Yeah. No, you're good. That's perfectly fine.
But then did that, and then the People's Memorial, getting involved in that, and the singing getting bigger and bigger, and the homecoming singings. And I had a phone call from a guy wanting a bass singer, and when I walked in, there sat the most awesome, beautiful angel I'd ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And she was their piano player. And she gave me her phone number, and I called her 2 or 3 weeks later, and then we got married and was married for 40 years.
That's something. Did you ever think about singing secular, or were you always I'm only going to sing gospel music?
No,
there was never that thought.
When I was 8 years old, my daddy was still alive, and he thought I was too young. 8 years old, 3rd grade, filthy mouth, cigarettes hid out behind the tree at school, cut out place to go get some sugar from the little girls.
Yeah.
I was living pretty rough and ragged for an 8-year-old boy.
Sounds like it.
We had revival at church, and something hit me, and I went up and got saved.
Wow.
At 8 years old, I went back to school, and my best bud, the one with the cigarettes and all that, and I mean just filthy language. And he said, "What happened to you?" And I said, "I accepted Jesus as my Savior. I can't do that stuff no more."
Wow, you had a pretty good grasp. See, when I got saved, like I don't think I fully comprehended what it meant, but it sounded like you had a much better grip on it than I did.
Well, my friends went up, and Daddy said the only reason I went was them, but I felt it in my heart.
You physically.
And I know that, and it was 1955, and here, so it's been
2019.
It's been a few years,
just a few.
Just like everybody else, I strayed. I did things I shouldn't do, but I knew and had been in church my whole life. Daddy carried us Sunday morning, Sunday night, every revival, Wednesday nights, anything going on at church, we were there.
If the door was open,
we were there.
You were there.
I had a drug problem. I was drugged to church.
I was about to say.
I've heard that so many people say that. Yeah. But now at 72 years old, I can look back and see how God's hand was in everything, Daddy's death, everything that's happened. I can see how God's hand was in every bit of it.
Yeah. The Bible says everybody's given different gifts. Not everybody's called to be a preacher. Not everybody's called to be a piano player. Everybody has different gifts. Obviously, yours was singing. Are there certain moments when you do go and sing where it's like that moment hits you that you're reminded, this is why I still do it? Even, you've had kids and you got grandkids and you got all this other stuff to fill your time. Is there still those certain moments that hit you where you're like, this is why I'm here to share my gift of singing? Well,
one thing that's always stuck out to me is I've sung in every kind of church. Every kind. And I've heard so many old stalwart preachers say, yeah, singing gets you ready for the sermon, but you got to hear preaching. The Bible says foolishness of preaching to get saved. And the scripture stuck with me that Paul and Silas were in jail, and they sang all night, and the jailer came to them, what must I do to be saved?
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
And the songs, a lot of modern people don't care for what my Sheltered Quartet does, but those songs have the message in them that some of this modern stuff, it's just entertainment. It ain't got the message of the gospel in it like the old songs we sing.
Yeah.
And I've had many, many people through the years. They come forward, and I've been down and prayed, and it just is something about it. And now at this age, it's still, every time I walk up on the platform and you turn around and you look at the people and God says, I sent you here to minister to them.
Yeah.
Something comes over you, and once you're up there and got the microphone, it's not you anymore. You're not there.
You're just the vessel.
You're not there. And the amazing thing, as dumb as I am, how God feeds you things to say and things to do to get those people's attention. And there's nothing you cannot explain. You've been in the pulpit preaching. And when you get up there, it's different than you just standing giving a speech at a meeting or something.
Yeah.
When God gets on you, and we do that, and I learned a long time ago, forget the professional stuff. I've been backstage with professionals.
Yeah.
And got to the point I wouldn't do that for nothing in this world.
I was about to ask you, would you, what held you back from that? Did it seem like just
we were going.
Yeah.
See, we were going, and then what the other guys, I feel like, did to me, and then after that, I got out of it and then turned right around, and God put me right back in it with the group I was with Julie. I had phone calls. I tried out with some professional groups, and I didn't know music and didn't know that was a C I just sang, and they weren't interested. And then God has always hooked me up with somebody else that called out. Well, Young Deacons, we went for 16, 17 years, and then I had 12 with called out, and now I've got 8 or 9 with Sheltered.
Yeah.
And then all the years with People's Memorial, I was the bass singer at People's Memorial.
Yeah.
And everything, that video I told you I got, over 3/4 of the songs, I'm singing on them or featured on them.
Yeah.
And it's just something God gave me that I got to have it now. I've been out for 3 weeks.
See, you amaze me on there was one time you and I was talking, and you told me you couldn't read music.
I can't.
And that baffled me that you sing so much. So let me ask you. So when you were coming up, did you just, when you would go to sing a song, did you just repeat back the way you had heard it sung before, or did how take me through how you would learn new songs if you could not read the music to know how to sing it?
Back in those days, there were singings everywhere. They had one all night singing every year at Charlotte Coliseum. Mm-hmm. My mama carried me there. And all the people that I lived with, spent time with, everybody was into the old gospel music. So listening to and finding out about people, London Parish with the Rebels Quartet became my hero. I talked to him when we went to the big time singings, and he hugged my neck and just always super, super friendly with me. And my highlight in that was years later, the young deacons are singing at Walter Williams High School, and on the program was London Parish and the Apostles. He had got him some young guys and did his own group. Well, there's a song called Way Down Deep in My Soul where I go way down.
Yeah.
Well, when I started, the song stops, and you do way down, way down.
The words are saying the same thing the notes are.
he came out and slid his arm around my shoulder and put his cheek against mine and carried me down there.
Wow. Just make your skin crawl.
My hero. When I was in the Army, my mama went to a singing, and she got one of the programs that had his group's picture on it, and he wrote on it to me, "God bless you," and all this kind of stuff, and she mailed it to me in Okinawa.
Wow. Did you ever actually pick out a favorite song? You just, I know you've sung thousands of them.
Well, I've had many favorites. One I said that I always like, "When We Sing Around the Throne Eternal."
Okay.
And London did that and blasted the bottom.
Yeah.
All right. Then my years were called out. It was a song we were doing, had some weird stuff in it, and I kept missing my note. And the guy just stopped and he said, "Randy, can you hear the bass guitar?" And he said, "Let me turn him up in your earphones."
Yeah.
He said, "Don't pay any attention to the way it's written for the bass singer to sing. You sing what he's singing and you're dead on." And that has helped me more than if you listen to a piano player, you hear that little finger on that bass note. And I have learned, listen to that bass note and whatever he's playing, you sing it.
Wow.
And John says I can go down for a long time. I could get to the low C, and then I started doing B flats, and then I started doing an A. And it's a couple of songs on a good night when I'm in voice, I can hit a G below low C.
Did you ever get where?
And that's about 4 off the end of the piano.
Did you ever get where you were singing so much that you wore your voice out? Or
Oh,
you had to take breaks
hoarse,
just to
get hoarse. Yeah, drink vinegar water.
Ugh. That sounds disgusting.
Pickle juice. Pickle juice.
Did it work?
And no cold water.
Oh.
Always tap.
Really?
Always tap. No, cold water. Cold water messes your throat up. You drink tap water right out of the sink.
Interesting.
Warmer water. A lot of guys they put salt water.
I've heard the salt water
They
thing.
drink salt water. But it's all in these vocal cords and bass. A lot of it you got to throw it up in, and it's nasal sounding. But when you get it up there, you can get way on down.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So because sometimes when I had announced a race a couple weekends ago at Orange County, it was 8 races, and by the time it was done, I didn't want to talk. I felt like I was just tired of talking.
Oh Lord, yeah.
You just wear your voice out.
And the young deacons, when we were popular, it was some of the songs we'd sing that chorus over and over. We'd sing it for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And one night I just hung my mic up and I walked out and got in my car and went home. They started singing and I left. It'd wear you out.
Yeah.
And then talking to customers all day, and then 30 years of teaching school talking all day.
Yeah.
And most of the time, if I got a clear head and stuff, I can do fairly good with the bass.
Where's the furthest you went from here in Grand Burlington, Alamance County? Where's the furthest you went to go sing?
To go sing?
Yeah.
Probably Mississippi.
Was it 14 hours?
We
12 hours?
Yeah, on a 57 GMC bus.
Oh, wow.
Wide open.
All the way to Mississippi.
Down a good hill, you could get about 78 miles an hour at it.
And y'all didn't have GPS back then. You had to hand map it.
We did the, was it Lexington or Louisville, Kentucky? We did the Kentucky State Fair. We were the featured gospel group in 74, 75, and 76.
Wow.
We were there, and our agent called us and said, there's been a death in the family of a group I've got in Greenville, South Carolina. We're in Kentucky. I want you boys to go fill in for them. So I've already made arrangements for another group to take your place at the fair because this is more important. Y'all get your butts to Greenville, South Carolina. We left there, came home, and went to Greenville. And when we got there, guess who we were singing with?
Who?
The Oak Ridge Boys.
Oh, man.
It was us and the Oak Ridge Boys at a great big building, some center or something in Greenville, South Carolina. And the Oak Ridge Boys got upset with us because when the singing over or intermission, people come buying albums. At that time, it was the 33s.
Yeah.
We sold out everything we had, went to the bus, got another case, sold all them, and we sold everything we had on our bus, and the Oak Ridge Boys didn't sell 10. And they cussed us
out. I'm about to say.
You bunch of...
Yeah.
Is that off?
No, it's on.
Okay.
Let's hold back on the profanity.
We'll hold that on that. They got real upset. Sang with the Thrasher Brothers, sang with the Blackwood Brothers, sang with all the big name groups. We went to WWVA Wheeling, West Virginia, is a Saturday night live radio, great big auditorium.
Yeah.
We sang there probably 5 times. We were there one time. We were the gospel group, and the country group was the Osborne Brothers, Bobby and Sonny Osborne. We were up there with other big name quartet groups live on the radio in that, and everybody had a cowbell.
Yeah.
And instead of clapping hands, they shook the cowbell over.
That's interesting.
Well, it was fun. Back in the day, Young Deacons getting started. We started at the same time, the Hoppers, the Oak Ridge Boys, the Inspirations, bunch of groups started right in there at the same time we did. So we sang with them all over. We sang at Constitution Hall in Washington, D.C. with the Blackwood Brothers.
Wow. We
sang all over North Carolina, Virginia with the Hoppers. And back then it was the Hopper Brothers and Connie. And they finally got up just modern times, the Hoppers. We did a youth rally in Clearwater, Florida on Saturday night and didn't get it. Was what was the guy's name? It was a Young Evangelist football stadium, full.
Yeah.
He preached. We sang. We left there at midnight. Guess where we sang Sunday morning?
Where?
Fayetteville, North Carolina. From Clearwater, Florida.
Y'all were hauling the mail.
We got to church. We got to church just a little bit late.
Yeah, just a tip.
They waited on us. We set up and sung for an hour.
Wow.
Paul Anderson, Mr. Sam Anderson, drove that bus all night long.
Golly. That is just...
I've been very, very blessed. Been very, very blessed. Got to go. Sung all up in the Amish at the outdoor tent things with the Amish people.
I'm surprised they even showed up. I figured y'all were like outsiders to them because you know,
loved us.
Really?
Went crazy over us.
Wow.
Now, y'all remember, we were guys in our early 20s.
Yeah.
Well, Steve was 3 years younger than me. When he started, he wasn't 15 years old.
Pretty young guys.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And the Amish, I would, my mindset would be like the Amish people would probably look at you like y'all are.
Amish people went wild over us. It was awesome. Sung at a bunch of black churches, which was very interesting.
I'm about to say, that's a whole different dynamic.
Well, they would get down when you was singing. Yeah. It was, had some of the most fun. There was a black group in Burlington, the Harmonizing Five. And we hooked up with them. Yeah. And would go Brookneal, Virginia. Lord, what was all them other places? Sung at a bunch of black churches and had, very spiritual, no junk, no show. Very, very spiritual people getting saved, shouting, all fantastic stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
We could probably go on and on about that.
Yeah, I know.
But now I want to shift. I want to shift your gear now to something else we got in common.
All right.
And that's dirt late model
Oh,
racing.
Lord have mercy.
Now, unfortunately, I did not embrace the exposure until 2008 because of your son.
Right.
And I always would hear you when I was announcing at Ace tell all the stories about just from Ace back in the day of Donald Tucker and Frank Massey and the Justices.
Larry
Isley.
the Justices. Yeah.
What do you remember the first time you went to a dirt race or saw a race in general and got you hooked?
Again, Daddy never took me, but after he died, I was 11, 12 years old, and I had an uncle on my mama's side. He carried me, and I was so little, I think it was Bowman Gray.
Okay, all the way to Winston-Salem.
Yeah. And I'm little, and before the race is over, I'm asleep.
Yeah.
All this stuff. I was little. And then another uncle on my daddy's brother, he carried me to Rainbow.
Reidsville, yeah.
And we got to Rainbow in Reidsville, and I saw him coming at that corner 4 or 5 abreast sideways, poo on the paved track. and he would come, and he drove a dump truck for Thompson Arthur Paving, and I'd either ride my bike and leave it at the service station, or Mama would take me down there because he couldn't come up in the neighborhood with a dump truck. And he would pick me up and take me home to Greensboro with him, take me to the races, and Mama would come Sunday afternoons to get me. But he'd take me to the races. Let's see, Rainbow and where else? I know Alma Hall and probably Madison.
Yeah, 311.
And when I'm 12, 13, all this stuff. And then naturally, when I turned 16, I knew how to get to 311.
Yeah, about to say.
And Ace, I think Ace was Friday nights, dirt. And then 311 was Saturday night, and Caraway was Sunday afternoon.
Caraway was still dirt down in Ashburn.
And Mama didn't like me going Sunday afternoons, so I didn't get to do that much. But and Orange County was Rougemont.
Yeah.
It was Rougemont then, and it was dirt. And got to go down there and watch Bobby Allison in a 64 or 5 Chevelle. Bobby Allison there running dirt in a gold. And I remember going into pits and looking at his car, and he was Catholic, but it had the racer's prayer on a plaque, on a gold plaque on his dash.
Yeah.
It was Bobby Allison.
Was it actually his car, or was he like the big shot that came in and someone loaned him?
Yeah.
It was actually his car.
It was that long ago. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was him and his car and him driving it.
See, nowadays you couldn't picture that because they're
Oh,
so high paid. And
well, the only thing me and you get is like Kyle Larson and the boys, like that we see this got stuff.
Yeah.
But
wow.
No, and just got hung on it, and then naturally me carrying Buddy and his friends when they were little would go to 311 and stuff, and then now it's all reversed. Now my son carries me and you and then he got so into it, and then Pennsylvania, Kentucky, West Virginia, Ohio, Florida, South Carolina.
You got to go to Eldora.
Tennessee.
Yeah.
Yep. And now, as my son says, Ringling Brothers had it wrong. This is the greatest show on earth. And you and I both have seen some awesome, weird stuff.
I was about to ask you about, the one I wanted to ask you about was Hillbilly 100 up in West Virginia. Just because you and I you told me so much, and half the time I was sitting there, I couldn't add nothing to it. I was just listening. Tell me about going to Hillbilly 100.
All right, Buddy got us a motel room.
This was not Tyler County, was it? This was the other, before they moved it to Tyler County, wasn't it?
What was the name of it?
It was it I-77?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I-77. Okay, so Bud gets us a motel room right there on the road that went up to I-77, but we left there and drove to Portsmouth and did the Portsmouth race.
That was like the day before or 2 days before.
The night before.
Yeah.
And then we got lost coming back. His GPS put us on the side of a mountain in the Malibu that I had just bought. Mama wasn't but a year old, and we were on a mountain road with guys down the hill down there shining spotlights on us frog gigging. And Buddy's trucking on these roads, foggy, you couldn't see, and he come around a curve and locked that Malibu down, barricade. No warnings, no nothing. Had to turn around, and he's depending on this old-timey GPS. And it finally got us out. It took us like an hour and a half to get there and 4 hours to get back to our room.
Good.
And foggy night, just awful. But then we went, okay, and I know this, I think the story you want is Buddy, that I think it was on Sunday.
Yeah.
And so Buddy gets up, and me and Mama shower and stuff, and he said, Mom, is it okay if I take your car? It ain't 3 miles up the road to the track. I want to go up there and check it out and go put our seats out, get us a good seat. So, and he came back and he told Mama, he said, now, Mama, we ain't used to having a lady with us. And he said, usually at a dirt track, especially up in West Virginia in the mountains, there's not much to the facilities.
Yeah, women's bathrooms are notoriously bad.
He said, so I checked it out for you, and he said, you're not going to like it, but you're just going to have to accept it. And she said, what are you talking about? He said, they got one of them little wooden houses with the half moon in the door.
The outhouse.
And it's got an M on the door with a nail in the middle of it. Well, when you go up there and your turn comes, you flip it over to a W, and you use it. And when you come out, you got to remember to flip it back over to She said, what? Yeah. She raised saying about it. And then he busted out laughing. He said, Mom, they got the nicest bathroom facilities I've seen at any dirt track. But he had Mama rolling on that.
That are nervous. Definitely.
And we did. And when you pulled in, it was honestly a piece of cardboard tore off of a box, and a magic marker said Hillbilly 100, HUNDRED, Hillbilly 100 written out on it. Mm. And we parked at a stockyard, the Smells.
Yeah.
Down lower in the parking lot was a yacht club.
Yacht being very loosely used in this.
It said yacht club. And then we stand in line, and here comes a 60s model old school bus, picked us up, and carried us up the mountain to the racetrack.
Wow.
And when it was over, you went out and you waited in line. He came back and carried you back to your car.
Well, that's cool.
And it was a very, extremely unique place to be.
Who was your favorite in your younger days?
Driver?
Yeah. Or did you have one? Or did you just enjoy the racing no matter who was out there?
It did not take long going to dirt tracks to see a black number 6. And winning. I loved Donald Tucker was first. And then his son got old enough. I got pictures of Ray Tucker in a 67 Mustang when he started as a kid. Wow. Number 17. Larry Isley, I loved Larry Isley because he's in Burlington. I went in his shop all the time. Red Justice, of course. Frank Massey. Frank Massey was one of my all-time favorites. Johnny Mann. He drove a 64 Chevy 2 Burgundy with a white zero on the door.
Did all these guys run in the same class, or did they run in
different
it's classes?
Limited Sportsman and late model.
Okay.
And late model. And then let's say Benny Davis. Of course, naturally, I had become a Chevrolet man, and it was some heck of a drivers. Bill Hall. Yeah. Bill Hall drove a little Falcons and stuff. And I liked him, but he drove Ford. Bobby,
that was a sin.
Bobby Taylor became my favorite because I always loved 1937 Chevrolets. He drove a 37 Chevrolet Coupe, number 37, with a 6-cylinder Chevrolet engine, running against the Flathead V8 Fords and wearing them out.
Clearly overpowered.
Okay,
still warm.
Oldest one, Monk Tate.
Ah, moonshine.
38 Chevrolet. I don't remember what I did. Of course, couldn't tell where it was butchered up. A Chevrolet humpback, and he had 6-inch stovepipe run through the trunk was his exhaust. Huh. It had a 6-cylinder Chevrolet in it, and he wore out the flatheads and made the weirdest noise when he come out. It'd go wow, and just weird with them great big pipes on it. But he would do it. And Preacher Tommy told me years later when Monkey quit driving, he was in his shop. He said, Monkey, you ain't racing no more. Tell me what you did. Yeah. All right, 6-cylinder Chevrolet, your intake manifold is on the side of the engine, and your exhaust is on right up under it. Okay. Monkey took that intake, and when they wanted to tear you down for protest, you had to pull that off to get the head off to measure the bore and stroke. Well, Monkey would go out there as soon as he heard the word protest. He would take, and it was 12 bolts. He'd take all that loose, all the linkage and stuff loose, and he would take that and wrap a big towel around it and go lock it up in his truck. So all they did, bore and stroke's right. He's legal.
Yeah.
So Preacher Tommy asked him, and finally Monkey reaches under the counter. It's still wrapped in the towel years later. He had the Chevrolet one-barrel carburetor up here.
Yeah.
He had a Ford tractor updraft carburetor up under it. He was running 2 carburetors.
So I've heard of people running 2 ignition boxes, but never 2 carburetors.
Ray Williams, Bobby Williams, Lord have mercy, Rayvon Clark.
Yeah, up near Reesville, yeah.
Oh gosh,
It seemed like some of those
I've got
guys,
pictures. I got pictures of them in the 70s.
See, what Bill Hall had told me when he had drove from my grandpa Spencer was the rotation was you ran Ace Friday, 311 Saturday, and then Sunday was a split. Some guys would go to Rainbow. Some guys would go up to Danville. Some guys, like you said, would go to Caraway.
There was a Stokesdale track that I don't recall ever getting to go to. My Uncle Curtis could have taken me there when I was...
Up there near Blues Creek? Or a little further out heading toward Walnut Cove?
I've heard them talk about a Stokesdale track. But the ones that stand out to me, I loved Rainbow, Madison, Ace, and Caraway, and Rougemont. Rougemont, the thing that always got my attention at Rougemont was the announcer. And every time they came around to the green, he's, all right, boys, y'all be right and ready now.
That was Leon Setzer, wasn't it?
No,
that was before Leon.
It was old guy down there then. But he'd say, y'all be right and ready now.
Yeah.
And he said, here we go, y'all. And
nice.
he was a great announcer. But I loved that.
Where was the place you saw the best fight? Because I know you had to be seeing... Going to that many races back in those times when it wasn't it wasn't as much of a problem for the guys to get out and handle things if they had an issue.
Well,
where was the best one you seen?
Ace Speedway, the pits were on the back side of the track. They weren't in the infield. They were on the back side of the track. And standing up on the top road, you could see them over there. And I mean, as soon as the race was over, boy, you see them running to the cars and everything else. And my aunt, Ray Williams' sister, Johnny Stovall's mama, got Ray Williams, her brother's helmet, on her hand, and you could stand there and watch her whoop about 5 guys.
Jeez.
She wasn't no bigger than Julie.
Yeah, a tiny little
petite
blonde woman. Yeah.
She put that helmet on, and honey, she hit you upside the head with a helmet, and you didn't have nothing on. You went down.
Goodness.
Oh, Lord, just fighting. And sometimes they said they'd get out on the track and get out there in the infield with all them big humps with the light poles and stuff and go at it out there. One of the scariest things I ever saw was a green flag and somebody's car bobbled and they dropped to the inside and Bill Hall dropped to the bottom wide open and that car stopped and he hit it. Ooh. And we thought we had death that night. And I don't remember. I know Bill got seriously injured. And Bobby Williams, one night I'm at Madison, there was no guardrail.
Yeah, if you went over, you're going up and down the hill.
And I got where different people like different stuff. I like to hear the 6-cylinders when they backed off of them and that big backlash you got. Yeah. So I'd sit down going into the first turn. Bobby Williams came down through there and somebody tagged him. He went up over the wall and I started running. He left the track and his race car was upside down in the side ditch beside Highway 311. And I went out there and helped get him out of the car. I was 17, 18 years old.
Wow.
The race car was upside down in the ditch
right
on
next to the
Highway
state road.
311.
Wow.
With my hand up.
That's crazy.
And I went out there screaming, you all right, you all right, you all right. And he got his belts off and everything, and I gave him a hand and helped pull him up out of the car. Bobby Williams.
Did you get the car turned over?
Well, they finally come out there. It took them a while to go out on the highway and pick the thing up and flip it over and hook it up and bring it in.
That'd be a long
Ronnie
flag.
Branch.
Goodness.
I don't know. Red might have been doing it up there then. But you know my buddy's thing's always Ronnie Branch.
Yeah.
But no, I got to see some good stuff. One night, my little brother Ricky decided he would come. He worked later or something, and I was already up there, and he came and met me. And a tire came off a car at Madison, hit the wall, wheel tire, everything, right rear. Hit the wall and went flying straight up in the air over the crowd. And I'm standing on the top road down, coming out of 4, and watched that tire, and it bounced right beside his car and bounced over. If it hit the top of the car, it crushed it.
Yeah.
Got
pretty lucky that
big
night.
old racing tire.
Goodness.
One night I was yelling because one of the Fords started smoking, and I was sitting beside my Uncle Curtis, and I felt something in my back, and a lot of profanity, and the man owned the car that I was laughing because it was a Ford smoking.
Oh.
So my uncle saw what was going on, and he kind of put something against that guy's leg, and he said, he paid the same money to get in here as you did. He can pull for whoever he wants to. I'm sorry, it's your car. And turned around, and it was Bobby Williams' car.
Oh, geez.
It was his brother or something.
Oh, man. I wish I'd have been there for some of that stuff. Because I'm born in 88, so it's so much different during my time as opposed to, it's almost like it's not even the same thing.
Well, let's see. Madison, I was 1965, 6, 7 is when I'm talking all that good stuff.
Yeah.
And you were still a
twinkle and...
You still a twinkle. And Madison, what we love to see at Madison is they'd come off 2 and get them sideways and slide, and there was no guardrail, and they'd just go bloop.
Just down the hill.
And then you'd see, you could hear them and everything, and all of a sudden here's the front end come up, and they'd come back up on the track down the Red Justin done that a lot.
I'm sure he did.
I wasted, well, I don't consider it a waste. It was the best entertainment, and Lord, was used to Madison all the time. Come in, car filthy. And then, of course, my highlight was Johnny getting me on as tech inspector at Friendship.
Yeah.
And doing tech inspector at Friendship, had a lot of fun with that.
About the same. But man, we could spin yarn for days, but I think I'm gonna cut it there.
What are you gonna do with that?
I'm gonna post it. It's gonna be out there for everybody to hear.
Tyler.
Hey, you agreed. That, my friends, is just a snippet, a piece of the entire conversation I had with Pops, with Randy Payne Sr. You could probably tell by the terrible editing or lack thereof that I had to kind of figure out a way to cut it off at the 45-minute point or so, and I know we bled over, but oh man, we could have sat there for 5-6 hours and never repeated. That's the fun part. But I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for listening once again to the Half Price Concessions podcast. We're hoping to have another new episode out this coming week, or next week rather. So be sure to stay tuned here. I'll be posting new episodes as always on my Facebook and Instagram page. But I hope you enjoyed it. Another episode of the Half Price Concessions podcast. Y'all take care.